Well, howdy YouTube. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. I got a problem. Well, it's not really a problem. It's an issue with one of my Dell servers. In moving everything around in my network over the last year, we've moved stuff all over the place. I got stuck kind of putting a notebook, 2.5-inch notebook hard drive into one of my Dell servers as a stopgap measure. And now I need to replace that with one of these drives. That's a SanDisk Ultra 2. This is a 1 terabyte, well, let's put it this way. It's a 960 gigabyte SSD hard drive. This is one of those that Sasha donated here over a year ago. So what I want to do is put this back into my Dell R710 server, the one with the lots of RAM and lots of processors. We'll get to it in a second. So right now in that unit I have a spinning 2.5-inch notebook hard drive, and it's just too slow. In fact, it's faster to run my virtual machines off of shared storage than it is to run them off of local. But let's go look at the server. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's go look at this server here. And so if you look here, we have a C drive, we have a D drive, and we have our iSCSI. Now the iSCSI share is over on the Synology flash station, the FS1018. And right now I actually have some virtual machines over here, the two that I used for my Synology series video. And the reason I'm running them off of the iSCSI is because they're a lot faster to do than trying to run them off of this drive right here, which is the spinning hard drive. Now, in addition to having Hyper-V storing here, I have some ISO files, I have a work folder, and I have an export folder where I created those two images, one for Windows 10 and one for Windows 7, and then sysprep them. So what I'm going to need to do before I put this SSD drive in is to temporarily move this exports folder over to my C drive, which should have enough space free. It has 114 gig free. So I need to move these files over from export here to this export folder over here. Then I need to remove this drive and install the SSD, copy the data back, and then we'll go ahead and move our virtual machines back as well. So if you look at the, if we bring up the Hyper-V Manager, and you look at these virtual machines right now, they're set to run off of the iDrive, which is the iSCSI, both the Windows 10 virtual machine and the Windows 7 virtual machine. Both are set to run off of that. And that's fine, but I do want some fast local storage for this machine. Now this Dell is the one with the, let's see what kind of processor we got on here. This is the high-end Dell that was donated to us. So we have two CPUs. Both of them have 12-core CPUs. So a total of 24 logical processors, and this is the faster unit, the X5670 unit, and this one also has 48 gig of RAM, and it has a 10 gig network card in there. So we're going to be, the object is to increase the speed of the virtual machines on here. So let's get the data moved first. So it's really simple. Let's come up here to our D drive, and we're going to right click on the export folder, and we're going to copy and then come to the C drive and paste it. And this will take some time. It's only going to copy as fast as these hard drives can spin. The two drives in the, or the C drive is a combination of two SAS drives in a RAID 1 configuration, mirrored drives. They're mirrored by the controller, and the other one is just a standalone. So we'll let it finish copying that data, and then we'll have to shut down the server and physically install the drive. Alright, so now the data that I needed off of that D drive has now been moved onto the C drive. And of course, we now have a lot less space on the C drive. Now the rest of the stuff on here I don't need to worry about right now. So the next step is let's shut down the server and let's get the SSD drive installed. So the unit that is currently marked MS-HV3 is mislabeled. Of course, I change the name of these machines every time I turn around. But that is actually 2019-Dell 2, and I called it that because it's running Windows Server 2019, and it's got 2.5-inch drives in it. So Right now you can see the two blinking lights on the two SAS drives. Those are the boot drives, and they're in a RAID 1 array controlled by the H700 controller. And then the one underneath it, drive number 2, is actually a spinning notebook 1 terabyte hard drive. So we're going to pull that out and replace that with the SSD. So that is, from now on, we'll always refer to this as 2019-Dell 2. The one above it will be 2019-Dell 3, and the one underneath it will be the IBM. We'll name that something or another. So anyway, let's get the drive out of there and get the SSD installed. All right, so here's the drive that was in that server. As you can see, it's a Seagate mobile hard drive, 1 terabyte. We're going to be replacing that with this, the SanDisk Ultra 2. So let's get them swapped. So there you go. It's mounted, ready to go to the Dell server. So let's take that over and put it into the Dell. Okay, so here we go. Here's the server that it's going to go into. I'm trying to do all this one-handed. Alright, so there you go. You can see that you've got the slot available. And that's the beauty of these Dells. They'll take pretty much any damn drive you throw at them. Go ahead and pop this one in. Make sure it's seated. It looks to be, and then we'll come back. A little takeaway of our rack here. And somebody said I had messy, or I had great cable management skills. I know that. See how everything's color-coded? I know where everything goes. No, not really, I don't. But anyway, here's another shot of the rack. Alright, so we're going to attempt to log on to the iDRAC controller on that machine. It should just actually work. But just in case we need to get into that controller, we want to go ahead and log in, and we'll start up the virtual machine through the console, through the iDRAC console. And I think I've set this up to use Java for the console connection, so sometimes it's hit and miss. We'll go ahead and launch it. Yeah, it's set up to run with Java. And of course, a guy in a tractor decides to go by at this very moment. In fact, that's my neighbor on the tractor. It's Saturday, so everybody's out doing stuff they couldn't do during the week because they had to work. Me, I'm still stuck inside Uncle Joe's Playhouse, so you can see all the convoluted BS you have to go through to just get a console running. Now, what we should just be able to do is boot up, and the only reason I'm using the iDRAC to start this machine up rather than getting off my button, pushing a button, is that I want to be able to see if we need to go into the controller for anything. So we'll just go ahead and power it on. And it should be straightforward. It should just detect the new device and then boot into Windows, but the proof will be in the pudding here. And you can hear it. I'm sure you can hear that through the microphone starting up. Now you might have noticed that I've been very fond of a Windows Server 2019 again here of late. And I'll do a whole separate video on that, but yeah, I'm pretty much getting my rack back to running Microsoft products because it's what I choose to use in my lab. And you know, there are other guys out there showing off Proxmox. There's other guys out there showing off XCP. And of the others, I like XCP the most, but I'm just a Windows Server kind of guy. And not many people do videos about Windows Server, so I've got that little niche there. And I like to keep it. It's what I know best. And there's just been some things about XCP that really annoy me. And I'll still use it. It has its uses, but my lab videos are kind of based around Microsoft Hyper-V, so it just gives me a lot more flexibility running Windows on these old Dells than it does running, you know, a root layer hypervisor. Just have more flexibility with the machines, I'll put it that way. Now it's telling me the following virtual devices are missing. 01, that's the main virtual device. So if you proceed or load the configuration utilities, these virtual disks will be removed from your configuration. If you wish to use them at a later time, they will have to be imported. If you believe these VDs should be present, please power off and check. Press any key to continue or C to load the configuration utility. So we're going to press letter C. And yes, it's warning us there's going to be drive configuration changes. And there you go. So now we have if you'll see down here, we have our RAID level 1, these two drives in a virtual disk on the PERC controller. So if we come down here and we do F2 operation, nope, it's not going to let us. Let's see if we go up here and do F2. Yeah, create new virtual disk. So you have to come up to the main PERC controller, hit F2, and then create a new virtual disk. And then we should be able to select this drive here as we can. And then we'll just do, we'll just call this VHD store. I'm going to accept everything else, tell it OK. And it's going to tell us it needs to initialize the disk. That's OK. Now you notice, now a lot of people tell me, hey Joe, when you set these up, make sure you only allocate so much space of these drives because you need to leave a little reserve on SSDs. This is a 960 gig SSD drive, and you see it's only giving me 893 gig of storage. So I'm assuming that it's setting aside or allocating that disk space on its own. So now I should be able to escape. Let's see here. I think it saved it. Yes, escape. Tell it OK. And then it wants Control-Alt-Delete to reboot. So we'll give it what it wants. Now the only caveat I have with running Hyper-V is that I cannot get Synology or Xpanology to run in a virtual machine in there. But every other VM I want to create, whether it be Linux, BSD, Windows, whatever, runs fine under Hyper-V. And it runs really well. And I can move stuff around between my servers. So for me, it's just a win-win to run Windows Server products. And again, I've repeatedly gone over how you can run Windows Server products for free for up to 3 years. So just do a Google search on that. If you don't want to go back and look at my videos, do a Google search. And you're seeing now it found 2 virtual drives handled by the BIOS. So it should now boot into the Windows Server operating system. And then I should be able to log in remotely to that machine and set up the hard drive. So we'll come back when I've logged into the server. And alright, so we're back on 2019 Dell 2. Let's go ahead and right click here on the start menu. And let's bring up disk management, see if it sees our new SSD drive. So there we are. It sees it, and it sees that there is some data out there because I have used this in a previous install. So I'm just going to I'm going to delete all the partitions or all the volumes on here because I don't need them. And then we'll go ahead and create a new volume, simple volume. And drive letter D is fine. And we'll go VHD store. That's what we'll call the volume. Do a quick format. And bing bang boom, Bob's your uncle. We've got our disk back. So now if we come back under File Explorer, I wasn't patient enough. Go back to this PC, you'll see now we have our VHD store there. So let's go ahead and copy our exports. We'll right click, we'll copy, And we'll paste it onto the SSD drive. And it should go fairly quickly once it gets started. Alright, so we've successfully moved those files over down to the D drive. So let's come back to the C drive and delete those so they don't get in our way. And then just to make sure we've gotten rid of them, it's already emptied the recycle bin. All right, so now that we've done that step, you notice our virtual machines are here, our Windows 10 Pro and our Windows 7 Pro virtual machines. And right now, if you go under settings, their storage location is on the iSCSI drive. Even though it says drive letter K, it's actually the Synology flash station that Sasha so graciously donated to us or loaned us. So what I want to do now is I want to move these virtual hard drives back to the local D drive instead of them being on shared storage. So it's relatively easy. We just right click, choose move. We're going to move the storage only. We're going to move all of the virtual machine storage data to a single location. And then that's going to be the Hyper-V folder here. Select that. Next, finish. And then it should perform the move. And it should happen fairly quickly because it's over a 10 gig connection. We're going from really fast network storage to really fast local storage. So we'll let that run. We'll come back when that changes. All right, so all told, as you can see down here by the clock, that took less than about 5 minutes. We're going to do the same thing with our Windows 7 Pro machine. We're going to go ahead and move the storage back to the local hard drive or local SSD. So we're going to just move the virtual machine storage, move all of it to a single location. Let's browse to our Hyper-V directory, select the folder, next, finish, and then let that run. And again, moving from fast network storage over to fast SSD storage shouldn't take long at all. We'll let that run. We'll come back when something changes. After that's done, then we can try to boot up the virtual machines and make sure they're all working properly. All right, so it looks like they've both been moved successfully. So let's just go make sure our hard drives are pointing to our local D drive, and they are on the Windows 10 machine and on the Windows 7 machine. Should be as well. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start up our Windows 10 virtual machine. It should boot a little bit faster. Oh yeah, that's quite a noticeable improvement. Let's make sure I can log in. We'll log into this one as Jerry. If you've been watching our Synology setup videos, you'll know these two virtual machines are the one I'm using in the Synology, setting Synology up for your business. So let's go out and see if our drive letters are mapped, and they are. We got the music drive, we got the video drive, and we got the applications drive. So it looks like that Windows 10 virtual machine is working. Let's go ahead and close that down. Let's go ahead and bring up our Windows 7 virtual machine. That should boot up fairly quickly as well. Yeah, if you're going to run virtual machines, save yourself a lot of trouble and headache, and just put a damn SSD drive in your server for your virtual machine images. You're just going to be so much happier. SSD drives are so cheap now. I mean, you get a 1 terabyte for $100. There's no reason not to use an SSD for virtual machines. So we logged on to this one as Joe, and yes, we can see our connections to our Synology FS 1018. So yeah, there you go. We've successfully replaced the storage, spinning storage with SSD. We've moved our export folder back and then back to the original drive. We've got our virtual machines moved correctly. They're booting. Everything is good with the world. Yeah, so that was just a quick video to show you the ease of replacing drives in these Dells, the ease of using Hyper-V in Windows Server 2019. I've been singing, Windows praises for years. Some people don't like to use Windows. That's fine. You have other alternatives, but for me, I'm using Windows, and I continue to show you video after video how easy it is to use Windows. And, you know, for those naysayers out there who say, well, I can't afford Windows Server in my lab. Yes, you can. Microsoft gives you plenty of opportunity to run Windows Server 2019 in a trial version. You can renew it, I think, 4 or 5 times and get up to 3 years of free use out of it. Microsoft's not going to come after you for using Windows Server 2019 in a lab environment to get yourself familiar with it. You know, trust me, they wouldn't enable you to re-enable the trial 3 to 5 times if they didn't want you to use it. So if you're looking at Microsoft products for running your servers or your backend, and it's what I use in my lab, it just makes my life easier. And you know, you can run your Linux virtual machines on there, your BSD. You can even run a virtual Hackintosh on Hyper-V. I've done it before. Synology, that might be a problem, but that's best served on ESXi or on actual hardware. But you know, for my uses in my lab, you know, Windows is a win for me. So there you go. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video. Leave your comments in the comment section. What do you think? What's your favorite hypervisor? Or what's your favorite underlying operating system to run a server on? Mine is Windows. What's yours? Anyway, come back and see us again. And please, don't forget to donate if you're so inclined. PayPal, Patreon. We appreciate your continued support. And don't forget that we will see you on the other side.